Really?
Let me get started first, and I'll tell you just the craziness of that. Peace and Grand Rising. Today is April the 17th, 1443 on the ancient moon calendar, and 1442 on the ancient sun calendar, 5782 on the ancient Hebrew calendar, and 1444 on the Islamic calendar. One moment. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. Just one moment. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3, Al-Moroccan Moorish American Court Action. I am Sovereign Living Justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, and Capitis Diminution Nolo. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light to Jure Day and Capitis Diminution Nolo in red ink and Proprio Sopranos Juris and Proprio Solo and Proprio Fredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural divine, ancient empire state of Morocco, the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, the universal Moorish American consulate, and the Article 3 Moorish American consular court. We are peace, we are one nation, we are one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, none shall come. So the question that came up just now, before the recording started, Justice Jay was expressing that he could not find the charter for a county in Illinois.
Cook County, yeah.
Correct, Justice Jay?
Islam.
Okay, so we have been hoodwinked, just so that we're all aware that what we thought was government and laws when we were in our sleep was not. The charters, for those of you who can't find charters, or you can't find, you know, a quote-unquote state constitution and things like that, it's because those are what you call general law territories. A general law territory is one that can't have a charter because of our status. We would not allow many places on our land to put corporate constitutions or corporate charters in place. So there are many, Illinois is one of them, where we would not let the corpses put things in place, not by vote. So it doesn't have one. It's a general law territory. General law just means whatever the law of the land is, that's the law for that area. And that actually applies to all of the territories on our land. But there is a list of quote-unquote states that when we look at these so-called corporate state constitutions, I have yet to see one of them that was properly ratified, even by the corpses. So none of them were valid, but they couldn't be because it's our land. In order for it to be valid, we had to do it.
Islam. And
so,
I just wanted to make a point. We had heard years ago, because it was a corporation, it couldn't have a charter. I had heard that from a lot of the Albion expatriates I was working with earlier when I first started this, that they can't have a charter because it's not a nation.
It's actually the opposite.
What do you mean?
They can't have a charter because we have the rights to the land.
Exactly. It's a corporation. It
yes.
You can have a charter.
The corporations, yeah, they have them, but they're not even, none of their charters are properly ratified either. That's what we're doing. We're actually validating our land by properly ratifying, by way of our Congress, which is us, the charters and the constitutions for the land, for the territory. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So in cases where you can't find one, you can write your own if you want to write your own by looking at some of the charters that are in other places, or just make sure you have a constitution for the territory that you have placed on the public record in blue ink.
Yes, that's another thing I wanted to mention. I'm ready to post the Constitution because I couldn't find a charter, but I always referred to anything that was said to be the state. I just changed it all to territory. Secretary of the Territory, not the Secretary of State. And then all of the offices, you know, which are ours, which is the governor, or all those, I put those in red. Governor,
Islam.
any mention of any of those officers, I put all those in red.
Islam, you could put them in red. See, they're in red on our documents. That's why it was so important to put our documents on the public record first in red and all lowercase letters. Then we could speak in blue.
Yeah.
So on the constitutions, we're putting it in blue because that's actually us properly going into Admiralty law for the land. You know, Admiralty law. Where commerce is concerned, because that's what Admiralty law is for, it's commerce. And Moors have been trying to do commerce without doing the proper steps. These are the proper steps. You have to have a constitution for that territory on the public record, and it does need to be in blue. See, we put the red ones on there to tell them who the sovereign living governors are. And then the blue one says we're the governors still, but we are we're the governor where commerce is concerned. That's what the blue is for.
Okay,
so it is suggested that those be in blue on that, but make sure that yours are in red on the public record, because that brings everything back to the land. Even Admiralty law is on the land for us, where commerce is concerned. Commerce is done on the sea, but the sea is sitting on top of the land. So if there be any controversy, our sovereign status still takes first place in terms of proper identification of the parties. Okay, but thank you for that. That was a beautiful question, because when I realized that none of them had properly ratified constitutions on the public record, I was like, so nothing was real. None of the stuff that they were doing was real. It was all acting.
Yeah, all of it.
I mean, in my research, I first found out that they weren't properly ratified when I was doing it, because I'm researching each territory as I'm going through these steps that we're talking about today with regard to the merchant cards. And I looked at Alabama's, and Alabama is a general law state. Even by their standards, it was a general law state. So that long 540-something page constitution that they claimed was a constitution for Alabama is not. It was never voted in by anybody. There were some corporate persons who said, okay, we're going to use this as our corporate constitution. So that's like Walmart saying, this is our constitution, and everybody that comes into Walmart by their consent, they consent to be under this constitution. And that's what they did with all the states. So that's why it's so important for us to do what we're doing now, because as it was before we started doing this work that we're doing right now and putting constitutions on the public record, just one moment, and putting constitutions on the public record, there was really nothing there. The earth was without form and void. There was nothing there. And that's why what we're doing is so important. Because we actually have to actually constitute what we're doing. We have to keep it, we're bringing everything into form and into proper place by putting the Constitution on it. I mean, look back at there's somebody there's some noise coming from one of the lines. Star 6 is the mute button. Yeah, that's it right there. If you'll just, please stay muted. There's a lot of, it's okay. Just so that people can hear. Okay, thank you. So we have to do what we're doing because here even, Seattle, how do you know when a constitution's been ratified? Just do your research, just look it up and see who voted it in. Look in so-called House and Senate records for that quote-unquote state. But you can Google the Constitution and then just start researching there, and you'll see that none of them were voted in properly. None, not even one. And the county charters, the corporate county charters, they weren't really voted in properly either because the Moors didn't do it. So we did it from the beginning. You know, our ancestors did it from the very beginning. And all we're doing is saying this land belongs to us, and we're just joining what we're doing with our ancestors and what they did, because there was nothing in between that. So let me see. In my research, I started finding this a list of state after state after state that does not have a properly ratified constitution. And the list got so long that I said, okay, none of them do, because they don't. So with that being said, the merchant card, we want to get right into that. Let me just ask you, are you all aware that all corporations that are on our land are tenants on our land? Are you aware of that? That fact must be, that lawful fact must be lawful fact. We have to get that first before we can understand what's happening.
I'm aware.
Do you understand that? That they are tenants to the Moors. So no corporation could have existed on this land.
Yes, I understand that.
No corporation could have existed. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Empress. No corporation could have done anything on this land without using our resources to do it. Okay? So keeping that in mind that they're just tenants and custodians. This is how our cards work, okay?
Helen
When a
L.
bill,
Mississippi
when a Grand Rising, when a bill is sent, it should have been, in the past, it really should have been just a statement of credit for our information. However, it was a debt instrument due to our failure to properly proclaim our status and nationalize our resources. Okay? All corporations are tenants on our land, so when they send a statement, a bill, such as a utility bill, mortgages, conveyance loans, which some people call car loans and automobile loans, or anything like that, any bills of any kind, what we were supposed to do is provide a way for our credits to transfer to us from the tenant. That's why every deed that has to do with property lists them as occupants and tenants. Okay? We were supposed to provide a way for our credits to transfer to us. The merchant card has provided a way for that to happen. Okay? So we use our nationality, which is the 6 foundational court action affidavits, and we know what those 6 are. We use our court, our liens, and our fiduciary court affidavit to correct the record and accept our credit. So this has been an issue of, have the Moors accepted the credit that's due them? Acceptance is our responsibility, not the other way around. Sometimes in our minds we were thinking that they needed to accept something from us. Really, it was, do we accept our own credit? That these tenants, including ones that custodians at those courts and all of that, the inferior court, they're tenants on our land. Okay? And so custodians in the Office of Banks, they didn't have the authority to move credits without our permission. But our permission has to be competent permission, okay? So that's the purpose of our merchant card. When we complete the proper documentation to permit conveyance of our credits by Article 3 court actions, and all resources align with those court actions, okay? So that's what we're supposed to do. That's our job. Our job is to complete the proper documentation. Just one moment. Complete the proper documentation so that our cards show that we've accepted our credit. And that's why the cards come off the press with $100 million on it, $100 million on it. That's saying, and that's not all of our credits. That's just a start, but we have to start somewhere. Okay, and so we complete the proper documentation to permit conveyance of our credits by Article 3. There it is. Article 3 court action, and all resources then align with our court actions. So after we have corrected the record regarding our nationality, leaned the corporate covering off of the resource by court action, and generated the Empire State Fiduciary document, okay? So that's a part of those 6 court actions that are so vital and so important in red and all lowercase letters. Then, once we have corrected the record where nationality is concerned and leaned those fakes and done the court actions and generated the fiduciary document, when a bill is sent, we send them a copy of the document with the fiduciary document and our Moorish merchant and our Moorish ID card so that the custodians have documentation that justifies the credit that they record on our bank ledgers and books, and send a statement for credit to our mailing location. So we'll be getting statements both from the bank and from, let's say, the custodians at the office of the utility company. We were supposed to provide them with a proper card, and as long as we were providing them with cards issued by corporations that we didn't properly put those corporations in subject status, then they were going to continue telling people what to do and what's due and turning things on and off and all of that, okay? But now we have to make the cards our own. Those cards have to come from us, just like everything else has to come from us. When we lien these corporations, that means that the corporate covering is off and they're no longer in the United States Corporation Company, they're on our land. And we do that by way of our court. So when a bill is sent, we send them a copy of the documents and our Moorish merchant card and a copy of our Moorish ID card. You don't send the actual card, you send a copy, okay? And the custodian will have documentation that justifies the movement of the credits, and the credits are going to be being credited back to us, really, because again, those are tenants. Those are custodians in the utilities, in the office of the utilities, and the office of the banks are tenants on our land. Okay, so we're just getting from the tenants what was due, and when we put $100 million on our cards, which is the standard that we put on our cards, that way they will be able to credit what needs to be credited because we've issued the credits. The credits have to be issued by us, and they'll be coming to us. Okay, and that way lights won't be getting cut off and all of that. And people won't be getting evicted. But proper documentation has to be done. First in red in all lowercase letters on the public record. And again, those who've not done that, you have the fiduciary document. Okay? And the fiduciary document will ensure that, you know, that you get your credit that are due you, okay? The custodians in the office of the bank are commanded by your affidavit to ensure that the resource records reflect the credit, and we will continue to receive a monthly statement of the credits, which we keep for our records. So those statements that we get, we keep them. All credits have already been applied to our card by us, and we show that we have given permission for the transfer of our credit by a wet ink signature and a right red thumbprint on government letterhead by affidavit. Okay. This is the proof of our permission to begin movement of the credit back and forth. Now, again, Morris, whenever we send our card, there has to be wet ink signatures, wet ink autographs, and write a red thumbprint on it. The corporations already have what they need in order, the custodians at the corporation, because the corporations belong to us. We lien those resources out of the hands of any dead corpses. So the corporations, when they do what they do, corporation speaks to corporation, and that's why we have our merchant cards look the way they look with all capital letters. Those capital letters are ours based on the fiduciary document and the liens that we placed on the dead United States Corporation Company. And it says, and so the credits that we put on there, again, that's just the tenants on our land transferring those credits back to us. So we get credits, and then we're supposed to get a statement every month from the utility companies that says this is how much was credited to you. We're the merchants of the utilities. We're the merchants of the land, the domiciles, etc. Yes, Justice J. Michael asked, is that similar to the accepted for value process? Yes, it is. But we had to have the proper card. We had to have our status on the public record properly. And we had to know that it's not issued by a dead corporation. It had to be issued by us, by our own hands, just like it says on our documents. At the bottom near our autograph, you know, in many of the documents it will say this was issued by our own sovereign hand, you know, affirmed by our hand. That is absolutely what accepted for value is. That is true accepted for value. But we needed to put the conveyance instruments in place so that the corporations can talk to the corporations. Because they don't even need to talk to us. They need to talk to each other. The bank and not the bank because we're the bank. Not the utilities because we're the utilities. But the custodians in the office of the bank and the custodians in the office of the utility company, they're supposed to talk to each other about what's happening. And then let us know, provide us with a statement. But we had to, again, provide them with a way to do that. And that's why we took the card that was issued by them and we said, okay, this card is not the right card. It is also a sovereign exchange. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The card was not the right card. Those ATM cards and things that you have are not the right cards. Do you need to throw them away? No, you don't throw them away. What you do is you make your merchant card from them so that the bank, the custodians in the office of the bank can send what they need to send, and then and all the bank is doing is effectuating recording. They're recording. That's all they're doing is recording. They're recording what comes in, what credits come in from our resources that we're the source of. Okay? So, did anybody feel that? We just went up another, I don't know if y'all took that, but I did. I'm glad I'm fasting. So again, corporations talk to corporations, and according to the Constitution, that's an office, that's a profit office. Okay? That's where profit is made, corporation to corporation. And then they put it in our corporate sanctum account. And that's why on the card that you saw, the utility that I'm using was in all capital letters. Okay? Because that allows the credits to go right where they're supposed to go by our own sovereign words. But see, and all we're doing is we're doing the same thing that the corporations were pretending to do all along. That's all we're doing. Subjects speak to subjects. Custodians speak to custodians. That's a trust office. Okay, that's custodians and subjects. And then living sovereigns speak to living sovereigns. That's an honor office. And these three offices are mentioned in the Constitution. And again, we're not under the Constitution, but we're aligned with it because there's some wisdom there. Okay? So the Office of Honor, this office right here, when you look up the word honor, it's going to start talking about credit. Did you ever notice that? When you look up the word honor, it's going to start talking about credit. That's why we have to be in honor when we're doing what we're doing. Are we in honor? And it's only by being in honor that the credit can be conveyed, that we can move credit around like that. We must be in honor. In honor is honoring our foremothers and forefathers, putting it in red in capitis diminutio nolo, which means no loss of status, knowing that we don't have a loss of status. And those who have not done that, I would encourage you to do it. Put it in red in all lowercase letters, even if you have documents that were done in black ink and all of that. But you want your foundational, real, true status to be on the public record correctly. Because, see, if you only have capitalized documents on the public record, then you've not properly stated that you're sovereign. You are sovereign, but you haven't properly stated it. And when we use the term state, you haven't stated it, that means you haven't declared that you're not stateless. And that's why the documents in red and all lowercase letters are so important. With this in mind, we have the ability to pierce the veil and cross jurisdiction with our fiduciary documents. And when we say cross jurisdiction, again, we're the sovereigns. We're in all lowercase letters and all of that. We're going to be sovereign, period. We never lose our sovereign status because it's within us. And then we can use the all capitalized corpus sanctum that we have created, not anything done by the United States Corporation Company, but what we've done. And we can even use what is termed the ward for the state, which is, for example, Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima, meaning the first letter capitalized. That's a utility. That's not me. I'm me. I don't exist on paper in that manner. That's why the red documents are so important, because that establishes in writing our proper status and existence. So, and then whenever there are any issues with banking or anything like that, all we do is we quote Federal Rule for Civil Procedure with regard to the all caps, Title IV, Sections 17 and 18, in the event that we have to say or do anything in writing, because we do it all in writing. We don't have to appear anywhere. We just do it in writing. And then we quote that one in blue. And when we quote Title IV, Articles 17 and 18, this is then that's going to say that even though there's an all capitalized name on this document or whatever, that a sovereign fiduciary is behind that, in front of that, rather. So let's take a quick look. And again, this is all about the use, the proper use, and all the systems that we put in place has all the safety built into it with regard to our merchant cards. Okay? So let's take a look then at Rule 7. It's actually, let me see. Yes. Title IV, Rule 17. One moment. Let me go here. I use the other one and put it on the screen. So that you can see what that looks like. Because again, we are not corpses. We're not corpus sanctum. We have our instruments are corpus sanctum. Okay? And our status takes front and center when it comes to anything that's going on with our with banking or anything like that. So here, this is Rule 17, FRCP Rule 17. And this talks about the capacity of the fiduciary, which is right here, a like fiduciary. Because, see, Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters is a minor and incompetent person. It's a corporation. It's my corporation, but it's a corporation. So a like fiduciary must be present and speaking when it comes to the basis of that. It determines whether that corporate sanctum has been properly put in the proper jurisdiction. Okay? And that's why we had to lean all of that other stuff, lean the things that the United States, and do it by using our courts, so that they will stop speaking and acting like they're us, and we are to be ourselves. Okay? And then we are to use these instruments, which is the all caps corporate sanctum or the in capita initio minima. Those are instruments that we use to get things done. We use that to speak to other corporations, which are really custodians on our land. They're tenants and residents and citizens. So you have to have a like fiduciary. Like means of the same nationality. Okay? So when we were trying to represent or be authorized representatives, that's why that stuff does not work. It doesn't work. It might have worked for a minute or two, once or twice, and then the ancestors say, okay, you can't keep using that. We let that slide, but you can't keep using it. Now you have to do it the right way. Bring your competence level up to know that you're the fiduciary, the state fiduciary for the entire state. Instruments that are all capitalized instruments. So with that being said, let me see. Let's go back to the merchant card, and I want to, let's see, there are some things in chat. Let's see, just one moment. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, okay. So now let's talk about, let's go back to with regard to the previous financial system. The previous financial system corporation has gone virtual, and we're appearing with actual documents, wet ink autographs, three-dimensional mailing. So we're actually appearing here in this dimension, and they are going out into the virtual world. Okay. With where that's concerned, that is why it is important for us to do the things that we're doing and to take fiduciary responsibility for banking and merchant actions on our land. When we use the merchant cards, that automatically puts us, and it doesn't put us because we're there already, but it affirms that we know that those resources, that we're the head of those resources, because we're getting credits for them, okay, instead of any debits or anything like that. So now, again, being in honor is how the credits are obtained. Being in honor is how the credits are obtained, okay? With regard to domiciles and things like that, you can use the merchant card for that. It can be used for that. Remember, you paid for it with your autograph from the beginning anyway. But there was no way for them to transfer the credits back to you. There was no way. The credits had to be accounted for somewhere in the system. But there was no way to do it. And now we have a way to do it. We first had to put our diallarium in place to to support that system. In other words, we had to rebut the fiat as the foundational bonding system, because fiat is all that is bonds. That's why they all have a different bond number. And so we had to rebut that and then create things, conveyance methods on top of our financial system. So economically now, we have a way for things to go back and forth, you know. So having said that, I want to talk just a little bit about the resources, okay? The resources that we have, the natural resources. Now, this is for the Moors who, just one moment. Okay, there we go. This is for the Moors who, okay, this is for the Moors who want to go into some serious commerce, real commerce. And I'm not saying that people are not doing real commerce. I'm just saying this is going to be real commerce here. For the Moorish merchants where land and natural resources are concerned. This is regarding further backing, we don't need it, but we have it, further backing of our sovereign credit. Once you have sent the constitutions in for your territories, you can begin researching and finding natural resources in your territory that you must do the paperwork on, all of which is already mapped out for you. Now, this is some things I found in my studies, and many of you have found this in your studies too. You simply need to find the writing. For example, the Moors at Virginia Territory can find the natural resources by looking at something called the Notes on the State of Virginia, which gives the original metes and bounds and tells you exactly where the resources are to which you are to create an Empire State of Morocco title, as well as leaning any corporations into subject status so that they can assist as needed, okay? So that the resources and custodians can assist as needed, not the courts, since we don't need their help. For continuation of inheritability and safety and protection of the resources, all titles that you create for these resources that you find, and we'll show you where that is, all titles that you create should be made by, with, to, and for the Empire State of Morocco, with you and all Moors as fiduciaries, and with direct mention of the territorial constitution that you have placed on the public record. And if you want to put any relevant articles that are in that constitution about those resources in your territory, in the title or in the affidavit that you put on the public record, then you can do so, okay? Let's just take a look at, for example, because again, the resources, and I'm talking about any resources, gold, silver, all of that stuff has already been mapped out for us. It's already been done. So let's take a look at this document really quickly. So that you can see where the mapping out of everything is. And again, you can find this anywhere for any of the territories. Okay. And again, this is the part that, you know, all of that stuff that's in that foreign, you know, subjects put into the chat and things like that. This is what they don't want you to look at this. They don't want you looking at this. But we're going to look at it. So let's just say Virginia Territory. And I'll just use that as an example just because that was one that just stuck out like a sore thumb with regard to the resources. So this is called Notes on the State of Virginia. And what I did was went to query 6 So let's look at query 6. Can you all see that on the screen? Hopefully you can. Okay. Let's look at query 6. Query 6 says, a notice of the mines and other subterraneous riches, its plants, trees, plants, fruits, etc., minerals, and they just go down the list: gold, lead, copper, iron, black lead, pit coal, precious stones. And throughout this document, if you look here, let's look at gold. Now again, remember, they were supposed to just look, find the stuff, and then don't touch it. Just tell us where it is, and then we will make these documents valid. Because again, these documents are not valid until we put them on the public record. So it says here, I knew a single instance of gold found in this state. It was interspersed in small specks through a lump of ore, that's a hint, of about 4 pounds weight, which yielded 17 pennyweight of gold of extraordinary ductility. This ore was found on the north side of Ratifying, about 4 miles below the falls. I never heard of any other indication of gold in its neighborhood. So they're telling you in the territory, and this is for all the territories, but you have to have a constitution on the public record and proper status on the public record to even go to these places, or else you won't be able to get there. Because they're not meant for citizens and subjects to go there and be pulling things out. We are the ones who are supposed to do that. And when it talks about extraordinary ductility for gold, and I'll just say this as a side note, gold is used, ductility means its ability to convey electricity back and forth easily, very easily. What does that mean? We are electrical beings. Gold makes it so that we vibrate even higher when we have it in our possession, or we wear it on us, or we use it to make things. It raises our whatchamacallit, our vibration. We can raise our vibration without it, but if we have it, we can use it. Okay. Same thing with all these others: lead, copper, iron, all of the others. So let's go back to the document. Everything has already been done for us. All we had to do was stand up, be ourselves, state who we are, and be peaceful about it. State who we are and be peaceful. And state it competently. So again, as we are putting title to these things, it is best that we, and this is actually the only way an honorable title will even be. It won't be honored unless it's put this way, just because of the way our ancestors set things up, is that you and all Moors are the fiduciaries. And all titles are to be made by, with, to, and for the Empire State of Morocco, with you and all Moors as fiduciaries. That means that that all Moors, whether they're awake or asleep, see, what we're doing really is thinking about our heirs. And heirs and grand heirs and great-grand heirs and great-great-great-grand heirs. And they're going to look back on this time, and they're going to see what we put on the record for them, and they're going to be like, our grannies and grandpas were great, you know, because we've made way for them to be fiduciaries of the land. So now, that was for Virginia. That was just one place. Virginia had a bunch of things. But all of the territories do. Okay. So for those who may not find anything at Yale, which everyone should be able to find things at that website where they lay out each and every place where everything is. And then we have to actually put that on the public record and then go there. And if you, now this is again for the Moors who want to do this. For the Moors that don't want to do it because you're doing other things, we have to still put the documents on the public record in terms of our nationality and our fiduciary documents and things like that. So research old geological survey reports which have already been done for your territory. This is one that I found for Califa territory that tells you where all the mines and the minerals and the natural resource maps are and things like that. So let's take a quick look at that. And here, let me just take a quick look at that. And then we have to actually title these places. We have to, and then we have to put it on the public record that we titled them properly. Okay. So, for example, Califa territory. They have maps of the mines and mineral resources, so we know where everything is. All we have to do is make a copy of this map for those that are at Califa territory who are putting the constitutions on the record, because the constitutions and the charters and this go together. They can't be separated. Okay? And if you're in a place that doesn't have a charter, the Constitution then. And then the charter can be the Constitution, so it will serve a dual purpose. Okay? So everything is already done for us. And then if you click on any of these right here, you can see the other maps of where the resources are. Okay? And more, this is what the custodians have done while we were asleep. They did this work. Oh, let me go back. Just a moment. There it is right there. Just a moment. Yes, there it is. Okay. So can you see that the Empress Cynthia and Empress Shitali with regard to Califa territory and any other Moors that are at Califa territory? Your wealth and your inheritance is right on the screen. Okay? And again, it belongs to all Moors, but it's our job to put on the public record that we are competent and we know where everything is. And then we actually have to claim it properly on the public record, because that's what we're doing. We're claiming the resources and claiming the land and claiming the commerce that goes with it. Okay? And then accepting the credits that come with it. Do we have to go out there and dig in the dirt? No, we don't have to. There's custodians that can do that. Some Moors may want to go out there and do that. I know I've taken the time to go out onto the land and dig up a few things and look for things, but I was looking for healthy food and end up finding different types of rocks and things that serve as medicines and all of that. And yes, if you grind those rocks into fine particles, they actually work to our benefit too. So, let's look a little further now. Okay, so now I want to make this really clear because, We always want to take every opportunity where erudition is concerned with the things that we're doing. You can see the things that we have access to. You can see the things that we're doing, okay? You can see why we're putting constitutions on the public record and why we're putting charters on the public record. So let's talk about what it is that backs the delarium. Let's just talk about that. Our wealth is sitting right, we're standing on it. It's right here, standing on it. All of us. At all the territories. No matter what part of the estate you're on top of you're standing on your own resources. You have proof of that. But we have to properly claim it because courts can't claim it. So that's what makes their documents not valid documents, is that they don't have a claim to it. But we can look at them because that's them teaching us how to govern, like our prophet said, and then properly claiming it. So let's talk about the delarium. We have the proof of that we back the delarium first and foremost because we put our sovereign autograph on it. Okay. But we also have land that, when properly claimed, back anything we put out there. Any documents, any paper, any court actions, any delarium that we put out there, paper or not, because the delarium is established by affidavit and court action. So, and we have the resources, that's clear. We know where they are, that's clear. We know who they belong to, that's clear. We know what connects the delarium to the resources. We do, because we're the source of all resources. So now, let's talk about money, because I want to talk about this just for a moment, because yes, we're using our cards, and again, it's our sovereign autograph on that's why the cards, affidavits accompany them, okay? Affidavits accompany them. Wet ink autograph, white red thumbprint, and then the copy of the card and the ID, okay? Card is never used without affidavits, never used without affidavits. And that's whether you hand deliver them like I put on my postmaster fez or turban, and I go and hand deliver the document to wherever, because it's generally in the territory. And if not, we use the mailing process, the government mailing process. So money. In usual and ordinary acceptation, it means gold, silver, or paper money used as circular. And this is from Black's Law 4th edition, Law Dictionary. It says in usual and ordinary acceptation, that means the Moors have been accepting it this way. It means gold, silver, or paper money used as circulating medium of exchange and does not embrace notes, bonds, evidences of debt, Federal Reserve debt notes, or other personal or real estate. That means the land can never be a debt. It says here currency, the circulating medium, cash, and that's why it's so important for us to circulate our delarium. It's money. Don't let anybody tell you different, because it is, by definition, and by the fact that we have stated that it is. So don't let anybody tell you that it's not. But a lot of times people say, you know, other things about it like coinage and that sort of thing. Well, we're going to talk about that just really quickly too, really quickly. Here's the definition of money according to an 1828 Webster's Dictionary. It says here, 1A, which is the newest definition, and then as you get down, the definitions get older and older. It says the standard pieces of gold, silver, copper, nickel, etc., stamped by government authority, like Delarium is stamped by government authority, and used as a medium of exchange and measure of value. Coin or coin, and we're going to look at that word briefly too, also called hard money. And then B says any paper note issued by a government or an authorized bank. We're the bank, we're the government, and used in the same way. Banknote bills, also called paper money. So by definition, our Moorish sovereign delarium is money. It's money. Any substance or article used as money, as banknotes, checks, etc. Any, and again, this is only if we autograph it. So things that were done when we were in our sleep were only valid because we were putting a signature on it. It says any definite or indefinite sum of money, property, possessions, wealth, any form or denomination of legally current money. Money of account. Money of account is our card. And it's actually money for account because it's for our account that the credits come in. Okay? And then it says sums of money now used chiefly in law. And here, for one's money means for one's choice or for one's opinion. If you're in the money among the winners, that's what that means. A money bill is a legislative bill for raising revenue. To make money means to gain profits or to become wealthy. And then down here it says money as a verb transitive is to furnish money to. And we're furnishing money so that we can properly, lawfully say we have money, not fiat. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people validate fiat by using it, but they'll turn around and say delarium is not money. It is. It's actually real money because we said it's real money. It says, and then let's look a little further here at coin because we're talking about enforcing the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 and 10 mentions coin, so let's talk about coin. First, as a verb, it says to fashion pieces of metal into a prescribed shape, weight, and degree of fineness and stamp them with prescribed devices. Has anyone out there who's holding gold and silver coins, have you stamped them or did someone else stamp them? That's why they won't take them at the grocery store, because it's not real money either. It has to be stamped by government in order that they may circulate as money. Legal tender cases, and here you can look at those cases. And then coin also says to invent words or phrases. In other words, they're referring to the Phoenicians, us, the Moors. And this is from Black's Law, 4th edition. And then coin as a noun, pieces of gold, silver, or other metal fashioned into a prescribed shape, weight, and degree of fineness and stamped by authority of government with certain marks and devices and put into circulation as money at a fixed value. And then you have the cases there. Those are corporate cases. We would actually have to put, in order for those cases to be valid, we'd have to put them on the record ourselves. It says here, and this is in Black's Law, strictly speaking, coin differs from money, as the species differs from the genus. Now you're talking the makeup of something. You're talking the makeup of it. Okay? Money is any matter, whether metal, paper, beads, shell, coffee beans, dandelions, whatever it is that's natural, which has currency as a medium in commerce.
Islam.
Okay? Islam.
In Trinidad, we have polymer, plastic as money. Is it money?
Is it natural?
If not, what is it?
Does it come from the earth?
Yes.
If it comes from the earth, it can be used as money.
Because the plastic came from the oil, petroleum.
Okay, that's a secondary product of the oil. So the oil is actually the money, not the plastic.
Okay.
Unless you and another sovereign agree to do your exchanges that way.
Okay.
However, on a national level, now that's contracts between you and another sovereign. But on a national level, it has to be gold or silver coin. And we're looking at the definition of coin right now. Let's look further at what coin means. Right here, I looked up the word sovereign because I saw it as a means of coin, but sovereign here on the screen. Here, let me make that a little clearer. Number 3 at sovereign, of course, let's not skip over number 1. One who exercised supreme power. You don't need anybody's permission. A supreme ruler. The person having the highest authority in a state, as a king, emperor, queen, etc., a monarch. And all Moors are the monarchs. All Moors are the queens and empresses and emperors and kings and all of that. We're all the state, all of us. It says a group of persons or a state that possesses sovereign authority, the Moors, and the instruments that we use. Because we're not persons, but the instruments that we use can be a person. And then number 3 says any of several gold coins. So when you're talking about gold coin mentioned in the Constitution, you're talking about us, the sovereign, okay? So you're not talking about anything that's not already among us, that's not already us. So a sovereign is any of several gold coins. Need I say more about who the real money is and who the real bank is? Okay? Need I say more? And so a sovereign, we're the money, period. So now, let's see. Let me bring up another definition. Coin here. Coin is a stamp, a die, a wedge. A coin is, and then here they spell, at number 1, it's a cornerstone, a wedge, or a coin, or a coin. And see, they spell coin differently here at number 1. Let's go down to number 2 in the verb transitive, coin, to make up, devise, invent, as a new word or phrase. To coin money, down here at the bottom, right here. To make money rapidly, like from our printers. To be very successful or fortunate financially. That's coining money. Okay? And then coinage. I just pulled this one up. It's a thing or things coined. A thing or things coined. Coinage, a system of money or metal currency. Money. Money. Okay? So we have the, and number 6 where it says invention and fabrication, that is where the foreign corporations felt like they could just turn on a printer and start just inventing and fabricating money. Okay? We actually make the real money. And then in the Constitution, at Section 8, it talks about money and coinage. To coin money, that means the sovereigns have to make it. And it can be metal or paper or natural resources of any kind. Section 10, coin money. Make anything but gold and silver coin. That's a sovereign. And if you'll notice, they use coin here as a verb, and then they use it here as a noun. We're the noun. The sovereigns are the noun. And that's why it says in the same one about granting titles of nobility. They know who the coin is. That's us. So for those who are, who have a question about Villarium, there's your answer. It's in the law. Okay? So now let's talk about the honor, the credit. Because we mentioned this earlier where credits, these treasury credits are concerned. It says, in our meeting regarding public lands, there was a question regarding the private sale of land and the honorability of the sales among 2 or 3 sovereigns in chambers. I believe Justice Yakub brought that up. It was a valid point, so I've given it even more thought. We want to make sure we review everything. With the honor comes the credit. So we're putting the processes in place for that. Whenever the Constitution talks about money, it talks about offices of honor. And if you look the word honor up, it's going to start talking about credit. So we looked it up. Honor, to accept a bill of exchange. Or, and again, we know that the subjects did this version, or to pay a note, check, or accepted bill at maturity and according to its tenor. Tenor is the tone. Tenor is it written by the proper state? The tone of it. Tone is red, blue, black, green. That's what the tone of words is. Honor, to accept a bill of exchange. Are we accepting our credit? Because we actually are not in honor when we're paying in fiat. We're not in honor then. Are we working our way out of that as a people? Yes. But we must come out of that. We have to. And that's the work that the ministry work that we're doing, is we have to come out of that. So here it says honor. Now, in English law, a signiory, that's someone who signs, someone who has authority, of several manors held under one baron or lord paramount. Honor. Also, those dignities or privileges, degrees of nobility, knighthood or other titles which flow from the crown as the fountain of honor. And we know the crown is the day you were born, you crowned. It's that crown that the honor flows from. In American law, the customary title of courtesy given to judges of the higher court and occasionally to some other officers as His Honor, Your Honor. Okay? It says here, act of honor. When a bill has been protested and a third person wishes to take it up or accept it for the honor, credits and honor, same thing. If we're not in honor, we don't get to use the credit. We're not the creditor when we're not in honor. And that's why we don't worry about, we don't worry about people who have decided that they consciously don't want to be in honor. We don't worry about that. They just won't have access to the credit of the creditor, which is us. Credit and honor mean the same thing. And it's only when we got in honor that this information was shown. Yes. Universal means currency. Yes, in the chat. As a noun, yes, we're the coin. We're it, or we're that. We're they. We're not it and we're not that. We're they. Because we're who. We're not what. So here, let's make sure we just blow this up on the screen right here. Honor courts. Tribunals held within honors or signiories. Honor court. A court that's using the proper credit. Our courts could not have the voice that it has now, or it would, well, let me rephrase that. Our courts have the voice that it has now, and that voice is getting louder and louder and louder and more effective. And not really loud in terms of decibels, but loud in terms of authority. And our courts are in honor. We're using proper credit. Credit being credit. Okay? And that is another reason why our court actions, all of the documents that we put on the public record, those are court actions. Those are honor court documents. That's why those 6 main ones are so important. And that gives us the authority to use the credits that we have, being in honor. Office of honor, as used in constitutional and statutory provisions, because the Constitution talks about offices of honor, offices of profit, and offices of trust. And we actually are in all 3. Okay? We're in all 3 in different capacities. Okay? So let's see, and credit. Let's look at that really quickly. Because we're talking about honors here. Credit, the ability of a businessman to borrow money or obtain goods in time in consequence of the favorable opinion held by the communities or by the particular lender as to his solvency and reliability. Now, we don't have to borrow. That's what these cards, these merchant cards are about. We don't have to borrow. Okay? Just one moment. Let me pull up. I want to pull up the, let's see, really quickly, Thursday. Okay, just one moment. That's my consort watching a comedy in the background in the kitchen doing all types of things, so you know, just ignore that noise. Just one moment. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now let's see, take a quick look at, so do we know and are we clear on how to use the credits? I want to be clear on how they're used, and we went over it initially about how to use them. okay, how to use these cards, the prepaid cards. Because again, these cards that were issued by these corporations, they were the ones in charge of all of that stuff. They were in charge of that. They were, the custodian of corpses. Actually, they were acting in corporate status when it came to resources and things like that. Okay, and so we needed to take that and put it in its proper status. And they tell you right on there that it's their stuff. But corporations cannot govern. They can't govern. Okay? Corporations cannot govern. This is property of maybe Federal Credit Union. They get to say must be returned upon demand when they're acting in corporate status. But when we lien them and put them in subject status and remove that old ugly corporate covering off of them and say, no, you're actually a resource in our jurisdiction, then we can utilize the resource that they were occupying previously, which is the conveyance method. And then they already know that the system knows what to do when it sees affidavits coming in with the use of our cards. Okay? So you, again, make a copy whenever a bill of some kind comes in, okay, to the mailing location. It's actually not a bill, it's a statement. But you have to provide the way for them for the credits to be proper. You have to be in proper status, and you have to be in creditor status to move the credit. So again, this is not something that, someone that's not in their proper status with those documents on the public record in red and all lowercase letters, because that's actually the creditor status. That's the land jurisdiction. Okay, that's the office for honor. Then you can use these instruments. This instrument, the prepaid card that we have. Okay. We have people that they want the card, but they have not studied, haven't done anything to, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself, because it's just going to frustrate you. Look at those six court actions. Look at them, put them on the public record, know what they mean, and then get your card printed so that you can start getting credit for things that have been misused and abused. So when you're talking about, again, quote unquote light bill, electric bill, water bill, mortgage, and all of that. And again, we're all walking through this together. I've already done it with my cell phone. Okay, I've already done it with that, where I did the court action on them twice, and they yielded. Now I have to make copies, and it's still, I'm using it right now. After, the courts had said, 3G is going to shut down on the 1st of April, and and all of that. They were not talking to us. So now what we have to do is send a copy of our card. We already told them who we are, and we sent documents to them. And we, as a people, put the law on the public record with regard to appropriation for cell phones. So all of that, together with copies of your merchant card and your Moorish ID, and it is best that your Moorish ID be in red and all lowercase letters. It's best that you have at least one in red and all lowercase letters, because it's going to match your office for honor, the honor office. It's going to match that one. And then if you want to get one in blue, get one in blue, in capital diminution minimum, if you want to do that. Or if you're using one that you have, Put the red documents on the public record, and then if you have an ID and you don't want to get another one, make sure the fiduciary document goes with everything you send, and your card. That's how you take care of your affairs on this land. That's how everything is done. And then you first secure the things that you have. First secure what you have. The domicile that you have, secure it first before you go looking at other domiciles and conveyances and all of that. Secure what you have first with the card and with your ID and all of the documentation. Then you can go and start looking at domiciles and conveyances and things like that. And here's the thing about domiciles and conveyances. You don't even have to, you really almost don't have to meet with them. You almost don't have to, because do you think that Bill Gates went and met with somebody about a domicile? Probably not. Probably not. You pick what you want, you send the proper documentation, and then you say, you give them commands on where to leave everything. And again, where domiciles are concerned, I would say, hey, leave the key under the doormat by 9 a.m. on April the 18th, and I'll be there to pick it up. Or meet me there. Have a custodian to meet us there. Okay? Either way. So, however you choose to do it, but just know that if you speak to them, you need to be knowing that they're custodians and you're not going to call them a realtor or any of that. You're not going to call them any of that. They're custodians, period. They know that. And if you refer to them any other way other than a custodian, then you want to fix it as quickly as possible. You want to invoke immediately and say, wait, hold up, I didn't mean that. I meant custodian. Okay. Are there any questions or comments about how to use the merchant card to take care of the things that you need to take care of on the land? You can star 6.
Islam.
Just one moment. Let me go ahead. There's some feedback, Justice Monique, but go ahead.
Okay. Hold on. I'm too close to my PC. I'm gonna have to step away.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna come back to you because I have the brain freeze.
Okay, and with regard to being in honor and using the credit, being in honor, it's done on by your words and your documentation matching. Islam nobility.
Is it imperative that we have to have the banking statement or the banking ledger set up and everything before we start using cards and whatnot?
It would be a good idea to have your Google sheet set up so that you can manage your affairs that way. It'll be a good idea to have that. But you don't have to have it. It doesn't have to come through anybody. It doesn't have to come through me or any of that. Just make sure that you have a way to look at your own finances and affairs and manage them. Okay? We don't necessarily need that. Nope. You can do it yourself. Everything, all that we're speaking of here, you can do yourself.
Okay.
At some point, we may start printing the cards out just to ensure that, just to look at the paper and see that the documentations are what they should be in terms of the red and all lowercase letters, and then having, having it state who we really are. We may start doing that at some point. But we actually have to do the demonstrations as well. And we know, just one moment. Hold on for just a moment. Hold on, please. Hold on for just a moment. Okay. Okay. It's a lot of noise going on in my background. So I'm trying to get them to be quiet. All right. So, yeah, you don't have to run anything through anybody to get this done. You can do it yourself at any point in time. But we had to take the conveyance method that the custodians at the bank were using. We had to take that method and make it our own. So that's all we're doing is making it our own.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because of the deposit that goes into our ledger that the Moorish government has to do. How does that happen? We have to send the link.
You're the government. You're the government, so you take some delarium and send it to the custodians at the bank.
No, I'm speaking on a ledger. I'm sorry. I'm speaking on a ledger.
The ledger is, you start the ledger.
I already did.
You can start your ledger in Google Sheets or wherever. You can start it there. And it doesn't have to go through us. You're the government. You can put the $100 million in your own ledger.
Okay.
You can put the $100 million in your own ledger. You're the government.
Okay.
See, Lord, we don't really need anybody's permission to do what we're doing. Yes, we're doing what we're doing, but you all don't need anybody's permission to be yourselves. You're the heirs. We keep showing you that you're the heirs, you know. And every now and then I'll say, well, maybe I should look at this and maybe I should look at that just to see. But no. You all are competent to do this yourself. You're competent to do it yourself. And I'll tell you what the ledger is equivalent to when we were asleep. When we were asleep, you had a checkbook that you had to write things in. Every time you wrote a check, you wrote something on that ledger. That's all. That's we were doing ledger to ledger banking then. That was to show us how to do it. And they gave us that because they knew we were going to sign some things and write some things. So they were saying, well, let's just get their consent there too.
Islam?
Islam.
Yes, Empress. When it comes to, I'm sorry, I thought on my question. This is Justice Malik. When it comes to doing real estate transactions, sovereign exchanges on domiciles, do we contact the ordinary, like say we knew some people who are real estate agents, custodians. Can we do a sovereign exchange with them, or does it have to be done amongst Moors? I mean,
you can do it among them. You just need to know that they're custodians.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. And this is my suggestion. My suggestion is let your documents speak for you.
Absolutely.
And corporations speak to corporations. So you're going to put in your documents, you're just going to put the custodians at your office for real estate. You're going to put those custodians with the bank custodians and have them speak to one another. And have the custodians at the realty office make sure the credits get transferred to you for the domicile.
Indeed.
Because again, the realty companies are tenants. They're tenants on our land. And they're actually, all of the corporations are so far in arrears in terms of what they owe. And it's just been piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up over the years. And it could not get to us until we stood and said, okay, we got to do this the right way so that we can get our credits, because it's all that sitting over there and we've not been getting any of it. And this is also us being the real IRS and getting the taxes back to us. This is also 1099 stuff going on here too. The cards take care of all of that.
Islam.
Okay? Islam.
I have a understanding question. So from banking or doing business rather also, you know how when you get into a new business, it says you're operating in the red until you make a profit and then you go into the black. I'm trying to find the rules for that stipulation. I mean, I did do some Google searching and I did come across what they say. It says the phrase in the black has a positive connotation in accounting. It refers to the accounting practice of recording income funds in black. When business is in black, it means it does not owe any money and is solvent. And so, we need
when they
to
say connotative, Empress, when it says connotative, that is exactly what that is. That's connotative and not denotative. Connotative means that's not really what that means.
Mm.
And they're admitting that that's not what it means by using the word connotative. Denotative is what it should is the true meaning of being in the red. And now let me say this also. For the foreign corporations that were previously pretending to do business, red is not good for them. Black, because that's why they're called black. That's why they're called black people. Because debt is that's their way of doing business. That's their form of capitalism. It's debt capitalism. And that's why they put it that way. Whereas and they know what the opposite of that is. The red is the credit. They know that. But if you look up the word capitalism and you see that they've been using a debt capitalism platform, whereas we're the credit capitalism platform, okay, that's why they say they put it that way. Operating in the black, does that make any sense at all, that operating in the black is good? No, it's
actually,
not.
Islam. Actually,
yes.
Upon understanding and reading this, because I read what does the phrase red mean, it says in red means that the business is in debt and owes money. And technically, because based upon what you said and what I just read, it does make sense because they're the corporate fiction and they owe the indigenous Moors money.
Yes, they do.
So to be in red means that they owe the living the money.
Yes, they do. They know that.
Mm-hmm.
You see how the play on words, though, how they do things. That's called diversity or divergent language. Diversity and divergent means verse means word or language or speaking, and die means two. So when you're talking diversity, that means they speaking with a forked tongue.
Mm.
But again, they say connotatively. Connotatively, they're the debtor. Denotatively, they're the debtor. Connotatively, they saw us as debtors.
Yeah.
So we had to fix the language. We had to put the capitalism in its proper place.
Yeah. And to me, that's just another example as to why we must write in red. Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. 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 Because that's going to tell you who the creditor is.
At all times.
So your foundational documents, do them in red, and then as you're venturing out into Admiralty law, write in blue. But make sure those red documents are on the public record, and always send the fiduciary document with what you're doing, and also at the top of all of your affidavits, make sure that court action language is in red. And then everything below that can be in blue if you're doing Admiralty law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A few more things. When you had did the fiduciary instrument last week, and you put the numbers on there and saying all sequences of numbers, I had actually thought of that like a few months ago when it came to the conveyances and putting that on the fiduciary instrument, and saying all numerical and alphanumerical sequences to get all the conveyances, because they all have a VIN number, vehicle identification number, with new alpha and numerical numbers and letters on it, sequences. So I had thought about that a while ago, yeah. But
yes, that's beautiful, Empress.
But now that I understand that I do have the power to do as I will, and it makes sense, because everything belongs to us anyway, that that's what, when it comes to conveyances, you know, putting that on the affidavit of what is it called? I just forgot. I'm sorry. The financial one. What is it called again? I just had
the fiduciary document?
Yeah, that one. Thank you. To put that on there and send that to all the General Motors and people that are doing our offices. Wow, goodness. Why is my mind like not working right now? But you get what I'm saying.
Because of the energy, probably. The energy. The high energy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what is conveyed that you understand, which is a good thing. So, yes, that's what I think that we should do also. So there's no more discrepancies as far as their jurisdiction of having the VIN numbers. It's ours because we own everything.
Yes. So with the conveyances, what I'm seeing in my study, because that started presenting itself, it's probably time for us to start getting some government conveyances. What I'm seeing there is that when the conveyances get to the dealership, the dealers put a bunch of the contracts on there. And they put so many additional contracts and amendments on there that it's just, or not amendments, but addendums onto the contract, that it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just, it's craziness by the time it gets out onto the lot. And so where conveyances are concerned, we're looking at just going straight to the factory with our documents and saying don't send it to a dealership, because the dealership, they put a bunch of contracts on there. Or if you send it to them, they're not to put any contracts on it. Because the dealerships put so many contracts on the conveyances that it's just unbelievable. And if you really think, you know, the more I think about that whole conveyance piece, the factory can send the conveyance without a VIN number. Because when we order it from the factory, okay, when we order conveyances from the factory by affidavit, by court action, with the fiduciary document, we can assign a VIN number, and the VIN number can match our sovereign security number, it can match our trust number, it can match our, it can match any of the numbers that we choose. Whatever trust that it's going to be in, we can have it match that. And they don't have to put that on there, we can put it on there, you know, because it's in the document. Or we can tell them or give them commands to put it on there. It's going to be on there anyway because it's going to be on the documentation. You know, so VIN numbers are not even necessary where the Moors are concerned in ordering straight from the factory. And that's just a brief summary of some of the things that the ancestors have been showing me as I'm looking at that whole conveyance piece. You know, but if you have a conveyance that has those things on it, of course, just like you said, Empress, put that in red or blue, in capitis diminutio nolo, with no capital letters, and properly notify everybody. You know. Yeah, absolutely. And then show that a proper exchange has taken place. And with those who have loans on their conveyances, send that merchant a copy of the merchant card and your Moorish ID with the proper documentation. It's on. And tell them the amount. Tell them the amount. Okay? Islam.
One more question. So I noticed that your card is gold, right? So where did you get the gold original blank card to emboss from?
It came with the machine that I showed you all a week ago. It came with that machine.
Oh, just one, or did a few come?
A box of gold cards came, plain gold cards came with it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Islam.
I mean, the ancestors know what they're doing. All we have to do is just hear them from within us, you know. Hear them from within us. We got this. We got this. I mean, and again, that's why we put everything on the public record. We know that what we're doing is being watched by the custodians. And when we get things right, they let us know we got it right. We got that one right. The ancestors let us know we got it right, because that's really where our yay and amen comes from, the ancestors. They let us know we got it right. Islam. I'm excited for us because, ironically, Moors, and this is just a little bit of some side note here. Ironically, this time that we're in right now is Passover, and the first 40 days after Passover is known as the time where you get double for your trouble. So historically, whenever Passover time came, the 40 days after Ishtar, and Ishtar is today, we know that Empress Ishtar was the empress who put the principles for abundance in terms of our inheritance on the public record. And then the corporate hypothecated it and called it Easter. But it's really Ishtar. And you can do the research on Ishtar and what that means and where, you know, the eggs coming from and all of that. It has everything to do with the matriarch and her eggs and the heirs and, you know, what all that means with regard to our inheritance. But even now, this weekend was super, super, super powerful because of Passover, because of Ishtar. Passover, no more civil litter, more too. When they see the blood on the doorpost, the death angel passes by. That's what's happening now. When they see the blood on the document, and it's the red thumbprint on the, you know, you don't have to bleed on your document. Don't waste your precious blood on the document because you put your energy on it, which is even higher. But this is Passover. No more civil litter, more too. And then the full moon from last night and the night before and the night before that, it signifies rebirth and renewal. And then put those three with the fasting that we've just done. And our fast, for most of us, the fast will end tonight either at sundown or at midnight. And then for some, they'll carry on and fast 5 days, 7 days, 9 days, 21 days, 40 days, however long. And some will just go ahead and be a whole life of fasting and just fast from certain things or whatever the case may be, however they're, you know. But this fasting energy is cleansing, clarity, and calm. Okay? So we're entering Passover now. Passover is abundant for us. It's very abundant for us. Ishtar is abundant. So let's use the information that we have, our sovereign status, our nationality, use it. Now, let me say this about the card. For those Moors who say, well, I don't have a current, bank account, I closed my bank account, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Don't worry about that. Somewhere along the way, if you can find it, there has to be a bank account somewhere in your history, and it doesn't matter if it's closed or not. One thing we know about bank accounts is that when they close them, they don't reopen them under somebody else and reassign them like they used to do phone numbers. They don't do that. You know why they don't do that? Because there's a bond associated with the social that is attached to that. And they're continuing to build from that, so they're still using that as a contract. So you can get the oldest bank account you've ever had. If you got a card issued from it, you can use that, or if you got the bank account number and the routing number, you can put that on your card and use that. And then send your documents to that bank and start communicating with them about, from your sovereign status about what's happening. Are there any questions about that? Any bank accounts from way back when, you can still use them that way, because and this is something we talked about in the past, whenever we were asleep and we would open a bank account and then we would overdraft and close it, and the bank would close it, that was not the end of that account. Once it was closed, especially if it had some debt on it, because see, they love when you close, when they can close it with debt on it. Because the corporation, that bank, would take that debt and they would create so many derivatives from it. Not only would they create bonds and derivatives from it, but they would also charge off the debt, which created more derivatives. So they made a killing, even if it was only 25 notes that it was in arrears from. And then they would add fees and fees and fees and fees to that after it was closed. If it's closed, how are you sending somebody a statement where you've added an extra 200 in late fees and all of that if it's really closed? That means it was never closed. And an account that is closed does not mean what we thought it meant. The corporations would take that and create so much more debt that they used and leveraged that it was just, you would not believe how many derivatives were created. And not only that, if you ever had an account and you went to an ATM machine and let's say you pulled out, 100 notes, and you did it in, let's say, $25 bills, 5-note bills. Each one of those serial numbers on there is assigned to you, and it creates a treasury debt also, a bond too. Because they got your signature on the foundational document that started that account. So all we're doing is the same thing, except we're doing it from the creditor perspective, because that's who we are. So any bank account, I don't care how old it is, that bank account has not been assigned to anyone else, any other person, quote unquote. So what you do is you lien the bank, lien that account number if you feel you need to lien the account number, but definitely lien the bank. And make sure you have a lien on the social and the nom de jure by court action. And then if they ever issued a card of any kind, you can call them and you can still get the card number that was associated with that account. Because they don't do away with that. They still use that stuff. They use that information. They still use it. because they're creating monthly treasury bonds to keep the bond there. So, and then you create your merchant card for $100 million off of that. And all you're doing really is putting them in subject status where they should have been in the first place and saying, you're not the creditor, I'm the creditor. You're not even a debtor, you're a subject. See, that's the beauty of our subjects that are in the office of, is they're not debtors either. They're subjects. They're only debtors if they're acting in court status, dead court status. Now, let me show you one final thing for today with regard to corporations. Oh. Okay, let's see. We will go to HB. Okay, we'll just use them. I don't really care to use them, but we'll just use them. So when you have a custodian in the office of, let me put this on the screen so that you can see. Only when they're in their proper status does this apply. And they say nationality, but it's not nationality, it's naturalizing of the corporation. That's what we've done with our resources. We killed off, not killed off, we decapitated the zombie corporation that was pretending it was stateless, the United States Corporation Company. We get rid of that. And then we naturalize that resource. And in their terms, they say nationality. Here it is right here on the screen, the rise of corporate nationality. And you can just Google that and look at what it means. All it means is that a corporation takes on the nature of the territory or place that it originates from. That's all it means. So when we lean the corporate covering off of our resource, that resource returns to the land, and then we determine, okay, this resource has our nature. It's no longer foreign. That's why we don't need W8 bins and all of that to do what we're doing. It's not foreign, and it's a subject to the Moors, and we speak to it by court action. And as a secondary measure of notification, I would always notify the quote-unquote, not the quote-unquote because they're subject to it. I would notify the county court whenever, just send them a copy of the same things you send to the original documents that you send when you're notifying your resources, the custodians in the office of any resource that you're using from a new perspective. Okay? So, for example, Morris have asked about, oh, they say, I need to start a bank account because mine got closed and la, 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 la. No, you don't really need to start a new one. You need to actually nationalize and naturalize the one that you signed for. You need to lean it, and put them in subject status, okay, so that they become custodians and are not acting as fiduciaries or anything else. Because, see, fiduciary is the opposite of a custodian. And it's not really the opposite, but they work together, but you're one or the other. Okay. So we have to nationalize and naturalize our resources. We have to naturalize our resources and the custodians that are there, and then use those resources Moors have been trying to use those resources in the past without naturalizing it, you know. And that's why, you know, it may work for half a second and then they realize, oh, this hasn't been naturalized. It hasn't been natural. The resource hasn't been properly put in its proper status. You know, so now we can put it in its proper status and then use it. You know, so with that being said, are there any other questions about the process, about how to use your merchant card to pay, to not pay, to get the credits that you need to get? See, we're oh boy, we were really programmed. But as the creditors, we don't pay. As the creditors, we receive the credit. Any other questions, comments, anything of that nature? Islam nobility.
This is a little bit off topic, I guess, but I was kind of moved by what you were speaking on a couple of calls ago about our national strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it put teeth in what we're doing, but can you kind of go over what that means? I mean, I know what I think it means. It's like you letting your angel take care of it, pave the way for you, like that. The national.
In the national strategy, are you referring to the scriptures that I quoted for the national strategy?
Yeah, that you were talking about.
So the angel that paves the way is our document, our affidavit.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So our affidavits precede us, and when we have, and that's why, again, why we've always said, please clear your energy before you do your affidavits, so that as you do the affidavits, your purest energy comes out in your document. And then when you send that energy, wherever you send it, it's going to be, that energy is always assessed by our ancestors on how we do things. And as you know, whenever emotion and things like that are involved, it kind of makes it so that we can't really clearly express ourselves. You know, when people get highly emotional, they start stuttering and they can't really articulate thoughts and all of that. And that's why it's best to clear your energy before you do your affidavits, and then send them. And when you send them, that's the angel in the scripture that goes before us. Because with our energy comes the protection that we need. The protection is in the energy. If you war, then the ancestors step back and say, okay, they've decided to do the warring, so we're going to step back and let that happen. But if we are at peace, then the ancestors go before us and they clear the way. Always have and always will. If that was not true, I wouldn't be sitting here. But that's one thing that our grand sheik told me back in the beginning. Because when I started thinking about, like, how are we going to do these court actions and things like that, he said, just put the energy and the words out in the ether, and nature will come to your aid. And I thought, and it resonated with my spirit.
That what it means?
And something told me that I can't be scared to do the things we're doing, even though I don't have an army and with a bunch of guns around me. You know, the ancestor said I don't need that.
Is that what it means when it's like number 27? It said, I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion.
Oh, yes.
Every nation.
Listen, I have seen that. Yes. I have seen it with my own eyes. I've witnessed it. You know, we don't wish death on anyone. But there have even been, you know, one in particular, an attorney, that we sent some documentation regarding one of the Moors, And I don't know if he didn't want to do it, or I don't know what he did. I know he went and talked to the Moor, and he was very fearful when he spoke to the Moor, and the Moor was in a jail cell on his own land. And he went to the Moor, and he was very, did they lien me? Is this lien? They got to take this lien off my stuff. And about a month later, he had a heart attack, and he passed away. And they didn't even tell us that he passed away until like 2 or 3 months after that. We didn't find out until later that he passed away. And when and the ancestor said, you know, go ahead and just look into that a little bit. So I looked into it. I even went to where his obituary was posted online, and he was a self-proclaimed expert at antiquities and ancient things. And I was just thinking, well, maybe he knew who we were when he saw the documents. I don't know. You know, we don't wish, and that's not, death wasn't in the documents that I sent out, because I never send out any documents with negative energy on them. They're always positive energy, because I know what that means. Our documents are a boomerang. Our word will not return unto us void. But that terror will go out before us when we're peaceful. And that's why I keep saying, please be peaceful with your documentation and all that you do. Be peaceful, so that the ancestors can go before and just clear. I'm telling you, they move everything out the way for us, because they want this for us. Yes. I mean, sheer terror, like people getting scared and running for no reason. Yeah. Listen, our ancestors mean business about us. And when we honor them, no one anywhere can stand. When we honor our ancestors, no one can stand. None. There's no one. Yes. And so our strategy, and thank you for bringing that up, our national strategy, and this is why we can put it on the public record and it not be a secret. It's not a secret. Our strategy is right out there in the open, is we just keep moving. Keep moving. We have time. We don't have to hurry, but we are getting things done. Let's just keep moving. And the custodians are not even going to leave until we're at the point where we've sent our documents out, because just like our grand sheik has been saying, 5 years from now, we won't even be doing the same things we're doing right now. It'll be different things that we're doing, different things that we're demonstrating, you know. But we have to, right now, we have to take the steps to do these things. And here's the thing about the money and all of that. Let me just say this for the record. Our ministry work was never about money. The ancestors told me that the spell that was cast around fiat was one of the strongest spells that was cast. And they said once you get past that, it gets so much bigger. And so what we've done is to get us beyond that spell, because I know what's on the other side of it. You know, but we got to get, the spell had to be broken, it had to be properly rebutted, and then we had to put something in its place that's valid. So now that we've done that, and now we're going to use it, and then we don't have to worry about that spell anymore, because there's more to it than that. And when you realize And I'll just give you a hint about what's beyond the money piece. There are places on our land and resources on our land that no money can buy, really, that will make it so that we actually reverse the aging process for us. Many have heard of the fountain of youth and all of that, and you know, we're not tripping off of, you know, the superficial about that. It's the longevity of it. There are places that none of us have ever been to. We've been close. Some have been close to those places, but you were not allowed to go in it until this time, because our ONA had to be activated, our spirit had to be activated so that we could get to that place where when we use these resources, you're talking about magic and levitating, using monoatomic metals to defy gravity and all of that stuff like that. We do that just in governing our vast estate. All of the stuff that you've ever seen in science fiction movies is actually not fiction. It's fact for the Moors. There's more. We got to get beyond the money part. So let's hurry up and everybody get what you want. Go ahead, so we can look at that stuff, because that's the stuff that we would really want. Where you can ingest something from the land that will make it so that you don't even need food. The only reason we ate is we eat food, and again, food is not bad. That's our friend. Food is our friend too. But the only reason we were eating food was to replenish minerals and things that we need to function. Well, we needed to get beyond, because see, that part right there alone is a spell that people, you know, some Moors cannot get beyond that spell right there. How are we going to get groceries for the heirs? You're going to get them. Just stay on path and stay on track. You'll get them. So now we have the way to do that too. Where grocery stores are concerned, all you have to do, Moors, and I'm not going to say all you have to do because it's not minimal. It has to be done still. We need to send them the headquarters an affidavit with the card, properly executed card. The card has to be properly executed. And your fiduciary document and the 6 documents, the lien on the non, the jure, and the social, the lien on the United States Corporation Company, I send that with everything. A copy of your Moorish ID. And then you have to lay out specifically, competently, what it is that they are to do. They've already started delivering groceries to domiciles. You can do it that way, or you can go in and show them those 2 cards, but you gotta, again, notify. And the things that we're getting right now with the cards is to further the empire. It's not just to exist and eat food for the next 20 years and have everything we want for the next 20 years. It's not necessary. That's going to happen. We're now looking at, okay, what do we need in order to move forward economically? We need to start businesses. We need to fortify and properly state the businesses that we have. We need to get structures and things like that. And all of the things that you've claimed in the past are currently yours. But you have to put a proper exchange on the public record that is a like exchange and a like done by a like fiduciary. Like meaning of the same nature or nationality. Okay, so that is, yeah, it was never about money, Justice Jade. It was about the freedom. It's about the freedom, and it's actually about eternity. It's about eternity. We're just going to reinforce the fact that we're eternal. Are there any other wisdom, comments, questions, etc.? Okay. We will stop here or adjourn here and pick back up on Thursday. Happy Ishtar to you, Morris. Happy Abundance Day to you. And may you see the abundance the way that it was meant for you to see it starting right now. Not pro-talk, actually. Islam. With that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, heir, Islam.
Islam, much love.
Islam.
Grand rising to all the Moors.
Peace and love to the Moors.
Peace and love.
Islam, Empress, check your email.
Yes.
Peace and love to the Moors.
Who said check your email?
Raymond Bayel.
Oh, Islam.
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 Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Islam, Rainy.
Grand rising. Islam.